What's up, guys? Carolynn Castillo here, team leader with Absolute Top Dollar and the owner and founder of Probate Property Angels. I am so excited because we have a client live and in person with us virtually. And she is a personal representative. She is an amazing personal representative, actually a two-time personal representative. And she is gifting us with this opportunity for her to explain her experience on the do's and don'ts of being a personal representative, and also her success story and when we got involved into her last personal representative position. Okay, so welcome, Rochelle. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes, so it's very rare that people become a personal representative, period. When someone becomes a personal representative, it's because someone, had a will, they didn't have a trust, and now someone has passed away and somebody in the family has to stand up and basically take on all the responsibilities for the person that passed away. So you've actually been appointed that person in your family 2 times. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Yes.
Right now.
How did you get appointed twice? I mean, how does that even happen?
So when my father passed away, he asked me before he passed to take care of his affairs. He never put anything in writing or made a will, but he did ask me to step up. Then recently, which is the case you helped me with, was when my aunt passed away in November of 2021. And my aunt said, well, your father entrusted you to care for his matters. So I'm going to ask you to care for their sister,
who's while she was still alive, she made that request to you.
No, it was actually after she passed. My aunt, who's the next heir, my dad's sister, their other sister had passed. So she asked me, you did this for your dad, you did a good job, could you do this for the family?
I see. Perfect. So you've been one that has been trusted in the family to administer these things. So what is it like being a personal representative? Like somebody that's watching this and they just, got the position, like what does it all entail on a real life experience?
So immediately when someone dies, there's a lot of paranoia in families. There's also a lot of anger. And if there's anything to be had or got, you understand that people are going to get upset. So when you take on the job of being a personal representative, you have to know that you're going to be put in a position to possibly have to tell people no, and you're going to have to be firm with that. Additionally, you have to be extremely organized. You're going to be dealing with bills and numbers, making phone calls, scanning documents. So you have to be well versed in not only written communication, but also with oral communication. Also, you do need some availability and time. I say being a personal representative is almost like a part-time job. You're going to have to make calls. You're going to have to follow up. You're going to be going to the post office. You're going to be getting things notarized and signed. And depending on how many heirs it is, you're now in control of all the people under you, for them to sign their paperwork, for them to get back to you, maybe for them to be on a Zoom meeting or call. And you're also disseminating information to them. And with that, you're going to be answering a lot of questions. They're going to want to know, what do I have to do? Do I have to sign? How much money am I going to get? And to be honest with you, you got to be savvy in answering these questions because you don't even know, most sometimes until the very end, what's going to happen with an estate. If there's bills, creditors, liens against the property, all of that stuff has to be researched and again, organized, maintained, and followed up with.
Let me ask you this. So your dad's estate, was that local where you live?
Yeah, so I live in Maryland and my dad's estate was local, and it seemed to be a lot easier because when my dad's sister died, it was in Florida. And because I live in Maryland, I didn't have eyes on the place. Wasn't as easy to just run over, check on the house. It wasn't easy, to communicate with the people in the town because we are in a pandemic and everything is done very virtually now. So it's easier to walk into, I don't know, Comcast cable and say, here are your cable boxes, here are your remotes, thank you. Or go to the MBA to deal with, a possible, transferring of a car. But when you live in Maryland and the probates in Florida, it did present some challenges.
Right. And then, what happens a lot of times is pretty much the biggest asset in a probate is typically the real estate. So the family does have to, the personal representative does have to deal with, the bank accounts, the bills, doing, hiring a probate attorney, filing a death certificate, sometimes the funeral, like, you're really doing all of these things, which in the process, you still have your own house, your own family, your own kids, your own problems, your own things that you're doing. And then now, like you said, if it's local and it's there, sometimes it's a little bit easier to manage. But when you're out of state, now, you don't have any connections. You don't have any, lawyers or realtors or people that you just can trust or can easily access. What was that like for you, like selecting, a probate attorney, selecting professionals to work with to help you, administer all this?
Yeah, that was a bit difficult because again, you don't really know the town, you don't know the people, you're relying on Google and a lot of reviews. I will be honest in saying when I did, my aunt in particular lived in Miramar, Florida, which is Broward County. I started to Google estate attorneys within that area and county. I immediately noticed a lot of big firms popped up. And as I started to call those big firms, oh, someone will call you back. No one will call me back. I sort of got, pushed around. So I really was looking for more of a mom and pop type attorney office where I could have direct communication with the attorney and be able to access her with questions, as a lot of this stuff is time sensitive. So definitely relying on Google to, find someone.
And then you didn't have really any family or anybody. So I see this very common, like in your situation, they start to kind of like lean on the neighbors a little bit, when it comes to the house, because the neighbors know what's going on. And then a lot of times neighbors will like put up their hand and say, hey, I can help you out, let me know. But then I think that things start going, like everybody has good intentions at first, and then they kind of like are not, it's a burden for anybody, a neighbor, a personal representative. It doesn't matter, the best willed person. It's now, they'll say, oh yeah, don't worry about the grass, I'll take care of the grass. But when it's months of taking care of the grass, it starts to wear on people. What was your experience on just having like your hands and feet in Miramar when you had nobody here?
So my aunt died in November, and unfortunately, because that American variant kicked up, it was very hard to travel there at that time. I actually, took care of her remains, but didn't get there until February. Just like you were saying, I met a neighbor, he lived next door, and he promised to watch out for the house. And that quickly turned bad with probably about 4 to 6 weeks later. He is an older gentleman, lived next door, but I started to notice, some things were going on with the house. I think the first thing that I noticed was I got a call from the neighbor that said water had been running out of the house for several weeks. I did suspect at that time that maybe someone had been in the house and maybe had toyed with the hot water heater at that time. Again, because I'm not there, I didn't really know. So as time went on, the house was broken into a couple of times. And again, I'm not there, but eventually my aunt's car was stolen from in front of the house.
Right.
Once that happened and I had to get the Miramar County Police involved and they accessed the property, there were people actually squatting in the property. They could smell fresh cigarette smoke. They had put blow up mattresses on top of her beds. They were consuming the alcohol in the home or whatever, they could have their hands on.
So that's what I was going to get into, because you and I we started talking probably, I can't remember now, but you filed probate in what, like?
I filed probate, I think it was in February when I went to Miramar, and I ended up actually becoming the personal representative in April. And I just wanted to mention that when I went down in February, I met a gentleman. I was at the house, sort of cleaning up. He knocked on the door. He asked me, was I looking to sell the house? Because he could visibly see that there was some activity outside. And I said, yeah, wow, today is your lucky day. And I thought, wow, God sent, I need a realtor, and here is one. I proceeded to work with that guy all of February, all of March, and most of April. And he promised to sell the house, and he promised to get me a cash offer. He had a friend that was an investor, and he was very much leaning towards me selling to her. I asked him several times for comps. I asked him what would it be like if I put the house in the market versus possibly just getting a cash offer. He never gave me any numbers. He just kept steering me towards his friend, the investor. I think her initial offer that she offered me was $240. One caveat to this situation that I didn't mention was when I first started to be the personal representative, my aunt had a reverse mortgage. And I found that out. And I was told by family members, she doesn't own the house, the bank owns it, there's nothing there to be had. But through research, I realized what the equity in the home was versus what she owed was a big disparity. So I learned that there was some equity. But selling the house at $240, I was there once the reverse mortgage was paid, there wasn't going to be anything for the family to inherit. So I was very leery about accepting his $240 offer, not only because I thought it was low, but because I asked him for things like comp. I asked him what would it be like to put the house on the market. And unfortunately, he just wouldn't give me the information. He just kept steering me towards selling to his friend, to his cash offer. I will say also, once you become a personal representative, you tend to get solicitations.
I was going to say, how many calls did you get?
I was probably getting on average of 6 to 8 a day.
Yeah.
With people calling me, cash offers, investors, real estate company, email, and definitely mailings. And you really just don't know who to trust. You don't know who has good intentions. It all sounds good. But again, I became very overwhelmed, taking these calls, listening to these realtors and investors, and also dealing with the estate, all while taking care of my kids, my home, and my regular job. So it became very hard to the cash offer looked appealing, just to kind of do it.
Well, and also it was somebody that you met in person.
Exactly.
So you had that physical component, whereas everybody else, like when you and I met, everything was virtual. We've never physically met each other. But tell me about that. So you mentioned getting, 6 to 8 calls a day from all kinds of people. When I called you that day that I spoke to you and we made our connection, what kind of made us look different or kept the conversation going further than just click?
Well, one thing is when you contacted me, you offered me options. And that was very important because that was all I was asking the other realtor for, was just to provide options and what those outcomes look like money-wise on paper. And you very quickly, one thing that really drew me to you was you said, look, I'm an investor, and yes, I could give you a cash offer. However, I'm also a realtor, and I could put this on the market. And that was very appealing to me because no matter what decision I made, you were capable not only of taking care of both, but you were offering both. And I don't think out of any of the calls, anyone offered me that. I had realtors call me about putting it on the market, and then I had investors calling me about cash offers. But you were really the only company that offered to do both. And that was extremely appealing.
Right. So we ended up doing a Zoom like this because, you were in Maryland.
Exactly. And it was just so informative. When you contacted me, you had spreadsheets, videos, you went into just the community, the area, what was around, the landmarks. You showed me comparison and comparators on what had sold within the last year, which was so helpful because that's what I wanted from the other realtor, was just to get some information, to get a pulse on what was happening in that community. So I could see, well, should I do the cash offer or should I put it on the market? And you were providing the information to make that decision.
Yeah. And that's something that we love to do because even investors are investors, and realtors are realtors, you know, but being able to say, hey, this is actually what the cash value is, so you can totally take it. Because a lot of investors, like we ended up finding out when we sold the house, we sold it to a cash investor. That guy was offering you 240. And when I met with you, I'm like, listen, we can get you a lot more than that, even with the cash offer, because the investors, their number one thing is always to get it as low as possible so that they can have the most money on the back end, you know? What we do when we work with the probate families is we like to get the family the most money. And whether that's taking the cash offer or selling on the MLS, either way, get you the most money in your pocket. So I'm going to show this video because I want people to see when we finally, you know, actually, I don't even think we got like the clear okay from you, but I was like, Rochelle, I'm going to your house and I'm taking a look because we need to see what's going on. And
and I have to add, Carolyn, it was when you went over there, you took the video. It was the second time when you went back, I believe, is when we realized that the car had been stolen.
Exactly.
So while I had a neighbor right next door that said that they were looking at the place, I also had,
can you see it?
Yep, I can. So what we're seeing here is that the house was not in the best condition, right? We had a lot of stuff in, you know, my aunt had a lot of stuff in the house. You just saw the ceiling where it was not done, and it just definitely was not in the best condition overall.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no electricity. It was full of stuff, like packed to the rim of stuff, you know? And that's the hard part of, you know, when, especially when you're out of town, but even when you are local, you know, getting, you know, there's certain sentiments that you want to keep, but a home has everything. It has Tupperware, pans, pots, toasters, you know, everything, you know, and you feel bad just taking it and putting it all in the garbage, you know, or, and it's a big job. I mean, it's moving an entire house.
It's a huge job. And that was another thing that I liked about Absolute Top Dollar Company. Not only were you offering putting something on the market versus cash offer, you also had I guess relationships with people to help clear out
remove everything. Yeah. I'm gonna show the let me show. So you see the before. Now let me show you the after. So we ended up
but yeah, let me just go into the story. So I'll be honest with you. Carolyn went over, looked at the house. At some point she discovered the car was stolen. Well, that really perked my ears up at the time, because I'm thinking, I don't have eyes on this place. After her going in and doing the video and me seeing that someone had physically been living in there, I just thought, I need someone. So I had a realtor. I also had the next door neighbor, but I still didn't feel that I had anybody. But once Carolyn was able to go there and let me know what was going on, I decided that it was time to leave the first realtor. Although I'd never signed a contract with him, I was communicating with him, you know, daily. So I signed on with Absolute Top Dollar, and almost immediately, Carolyn, her Ahmad, who also co-owner that works with Carolyn, went over, and they immediately changed the locks in an attempt to secure the home. And that's exactly what I needed. Because again, I'm in Maryland, I'm not in Florida. So that's when we started to work together. And I think it was probably about mid-April, could have been the latter part of April. But I did have to make a decision to leave the first realtor in an attempt to secure the home. When you have squatters living in there, you know, people can stay there for extended period of time. Now they have squatters' rights. Additionally, I already had suspected someone had been in the property when the water was running out of the home. I didn't know if the squatters would ruin the plumbing, ruin the electrical, you know, rip out toilets and faucets, therefore affecting ultimately what this house could be sold for.
Right. And these are things that personal representatives, like, everybody thinks, oh, this happened to you, this won't happen to me, you know?
But yeah, but I can honestly say, if you're in one state or even in the same state, if you're not able to check on that house every day, people in the neighborhood will get to learn.
And depending on the neighbor is not a good,
it is not a good idea.
It's not a good idea, because even the most well-intended neighbors, you know, they're busy with their life, they're doing their thing. You know, you really need somebody that is looking out for your best interest, like as a hired professional that knows how this stuff works, you know? Because once we got there and we identified, I mean, it took us what, about a week to finally get rid of whoever was there. I mean, we never physically caught them,
Yeah.
but with all the activity that was happening in the house and the change of the locks and the movers coming in and removing the stuff and, you know, and then putting it on the market,
Yep.
and all of that just kind of swished him away and he never came back to the house, you know?
Exactly.
And that's, you know, one of the things. So we got started with you already when there was a problem. Okay. But if we would have met each other sooner, would have worked together from the beginning, then
Yep.
that's one of our systems. Is what we do is we do weekly visits on the house. We change the locks, we secure the property, we have a landscaper over there, we have all these things happening. So the house looks like it's cared for, you know, because that's what criminals look for: the overgrown grass, you know, the flat tire in the car in the front. Like they start
Yep.
seeing, hey, you know, like full mailbox full of stuff, you know, that's what
Yeah.
they look for.
And I wanted to just add that not only were these squatters living in the house, they had stolen the car, they had stolen some papers related to my aunt's identity. They were taking out credit cards in her name. I started to get solicitations in the mail that she had applied for
Everything of
credit.
value was gone. There was
Everything
no.
in the house of value was gone. And
Mhm.
it's something that I deeply regret. You know, there was some jewelry there. There were TVs, some other electronics, and, you know, her passport, her citizenship papers, just very important papers that, you know, the family would have kept just to memorialize her. We're now gone because
Mhm.
we did not have eyes on the house.
Right. Well, the neighbor was watching. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is actually the after. So after we this is a mod. After we got connected with you and started working with you, this is how the after effect was. We got the house all cleared out. Um so I'll show you here. And you know, that's the thing that people don't realize when they have these inherited houses is just, I remember our conversations and you telling me, Carolyn, you don't understand how bad it is. Like, I'm telling you, this is a terrible house, you know? And I was telling you, Rochelle, trust me, we just need to clean it up, clear it out, and then let us do our marketing on
And I
top
just
of
want to
it.
touch on that just a little bit. You know, to be honest with you, I didn't have the physical capability to get a truck to clean this house out. I didn't have the time. I'm in Maryland. And I was just so surprised when I saw this very video that you all are watching, that I was able to, you know, put this house on the market with nothing in it. You know, it was a clean
Mhm,
slate.
mhm.
I could have never thought about taking a week or two off of work, hiring trucks, physically having to do the work myself. Being able to just
Mhm.
have you and a mod come here and clear it out in the way that you did was just very, very helpful for the family. Extremely
Yes.
helpful.
So, and then now, you know, let's share what the outcome was, okay? Because that's, you know, we
Yes.
could say all the amazing things, but the numbers don't lie, okay?
Yeah, so I will tell you. So I just explained to you all that my first realtor was offering me 240 with a cash buyer who was his friend. I said, oh, that's low because again, we had a reverse mortgage on the property for about 130. And I thought we're not going to really net much. Um, as he strung me along, you know, during those 8 weeks, it went from 240 to 260. And finally, that's about the time the car was stolen. And I didn't feel that they had taken charge of the property. So I started to back away from them. At this point, Carolyn and I started to have our dialogue. She had already showed me comparators. She offered, you know, cash offer or put on the market. And when I started to walk away, all of a sudden, you know, they wanted to offer me 285. Um, I just felt it wasn't in good faith. It wasn't trustworthy. They had never offered me that before. I just didn't feel comfortable with them, you know? So after I looked at Carolynn's comparators, she was saying that we could probably get, you know, about 325 for this house. And I thought, wow, like that's a number that I hadn't heard or seen. And the entire time I'd been talking to the other realtor. So we clear the house out. We put it on the market. I believe it was a Monday. I called Carolyn that evening to say, hey, did we get any offers? And that day we had 6. The next day I said, did we get more offers? She said, well, there's just so many. I'm going to, talk to you tomorrow. Wednesday by about 7 p.m. we met, and Carolyn told me that she had an offer that had come in at 5 o'clock. She told the person, okay, this was the best offer at 5 o'clock. I believe at that point we were at 360, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And then I recall when Carolyn called me at 7 p.m., there was a woman. She said she wanted the house. Carolyn told her come with her best and final. And this woman ended up purchasing the home for $375. Yeah. We put this house on the market for $325. So we got $50,000 over asking, and we got almost $200,000 for the family after the reverse mortgage was paid. I mean, it was beyond my dreams. I literally shed tears because I felt that, my aunt worked her whole life for this house, and to give it away for $240 and pay the reverse mortgage and the family have no inheritance, it just felt wrong. But being able to put the house on the market, and again, 30 offers in 2 days. And you all saw the condition of the property. With Carolyn and Ahmad there with their advertisement, the pictures they took, the videographer they brought in, really showcased the house. So putting a house on the market at $325 and getting $50,000 over asking and over almost $200,000 netted to the family.
And it's important because people like realtors, like in the business, like they think Ahmad and I are crazy for doing those videos on
they're amazing.
Like your house, like being like a fixer upper type of house. They think we're crazy because typically realtors only do those videos on like $1 million houses, like luxury homes. But the thing that realtors don't understand is those videos go viral on the internet. So the buyer of this house happened to be in Chile. He never came to the house. He lives in Chile, okay? So he bought the house virtually based off of that video, And so doing that video marketing, not only does it just give a beautiful presentation of the home, but it markets beyond the MLS. So what other realtors are afraid to spend the money or invest in, their clients' properties, it really goes to show that that buyer came in and blew out the water, all the local buyers, he just completely blew it out. So I just am always like all about the video marketing, because anybody would say, are you crazy? You put a, I'm not bad about your house. You put a dump like that on the video, and it's like, yeah, well, guess what? That dump, because we made a video, we got like, $50,000 more than we would have gotten from the people in Broward
County. And I think it is so telling that I was sort of in a bubble with me, the realtor that knocked on the door, and his friend, the cash investor for $240. But the advertisements, the video, working with Absolute Top Dollar, I was able to get someone from an entirely different country, interested in this property.
Right.
So
and another important thing is, how much did you pay up front for us to do everything that we did?
Zero. I never gave Carolyn a dime. And I'm going to be honest, during the time where she secured the home, she changed her and Ahmad changed the locks once. The perpetrators came back. She did it again. At one point, a family friend came in there, took the key to the lockbox. She changed it again. So not securing the property once, not securing the property twice, but securing the property 3 times, in an attempt to get the home secure and sold. So it was definitely beyond my wildest dreams. I am so happy The other heirs that I'm personal representative over are just astonished, because you have to remember, initially, these are the same heirs that told me there's nothing to be had. Okay, it's a reverse mortgage. The bank owns it. You know, you're not going to get anything. You're wasting your time. Why are you hiring that probate? Why are you communicating with this attorney? So in the end, you know, when the family had almost $200,000 to split, you know, it was definitely a great I told you so moment.
And that's, you know, and that's what we love to work with personal representatives, you know, because we know the pressure that you have, because all those family members are basically whatever decisions you make, you're, you know, first of all, most of the time you're always wrong, no matter what you do as a personal representative. But, you know, we help you to shine, and we help you to, you know, really get the most for the family, get the most, because every dollar matters when you're splitting it 5 ways, you know. You know, $5,000 is 1,000 for each person, you know. So the higher that we can get the estate, the higher we can get the inheritance. Everybody's blessed, everybody's happy. And it really, you know, our motto is to make selling inherited properties less stressful and more profitable.
Yeah.
So,
And I just wanted to tell everyone, if you get into a situation where there is a reverse mortgage, don't think there's nothing to be had. Definitely look into it. You know, if I had to give another step of advice, I would definitely recommend Absolute Top Dollar if you're definitely in that, you know, Miramar area. The marketing, the pictures, the videographer, the clearing out of the house, the securing the property, and getting absolute top dollar. Again,
you get it, absolute top dollar.
almost $200,000 in revenue for the family. And again, started out with nothing, right? Almost a dilapidated home, and now ending up with almost $200,000. I would highly recommend, definitely.
Yay. Thank you so much, Rochelle. I really appreciate you doing this video, and
no problem.
We don't even know each other in real life, but virtually, and now we're friends on Instagram. So
exactly.
And you know, and that's another funny thing people don't realize, as the personal representative, literally how many times did we talk on the phone?
A lot. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about us. We don't charge by the minute like attorneys do, you know. So we're there to like talk you through, like, you know, because there's also all the emotional stuff that goes through, you know. And me and Ahmad were like, Rochelle, what's going on?
Again, a lot of communication when squatters were in the home, securing the home, changing the locks, almost talking, you know, multiple times an hour. We had to, just to, you know, get the property secured and sold. And so it was
that's
definitely,
why I feel like I become best friends with my clients, because we're like best friends for 90 days, you know.
Yes.
Like, we're like, hey. So, but I look forward to continuing our relationship, and
I do, and I will send you all my business. And just for the viewers viewing, if anyone wants to know, I do want to say that my aunt's car was found. So the sheriff's office in West Palm Beach contacted me, which was an hour away from Broward County, Miramar, Florida. And we have successfully gotten the car back with actually no damage. Squatters were out, shut down the credit cards. So overall, this was a success.
And we're officially closed, sold as of yesterday. So that's it. Now everybody can relax. So thank you again. Thank you so much. And guys, I will see you on the next one.